Genesis 47, verse 1. Then Joseph went out and told Pharaoh and said, My father and my brothers, their flocks and their herds, and all that they possess, have come from the land of Canaan, and indeed they are in the land of Goshen. And he took 5 men from among his brothers and presented them to Pharaoh. Then Pharaoh said to his brothers, What is your occupation? And they said to Pharaoh, Your servants are shepherds, both we and also our fathers. And they said to Pharaoh, We have come to dwell in the land because your servants have no pasture for their flocks, for the famine is severe in the land of Canaan. Now therefore, please let your servants dwell in the land of Goshen. Then Pharaoh spoke to Joseph, saying, Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you. Have your father and brothers dwell in the best of the land? Let them dwell in the land of Goshen. And if you know any competent men among them, then make them chief herdsmen over my livestock. Sorry, is this clear? Oh, it is. Okay, here we go. Then Joseph brought in his father Jacob and set him before Pharaoh, and Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Jacob, How old are you? And Jacob said to Pharaoh, The days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have been the days of the years of my life, and they have not attained to the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the days of their pilgrimage. So Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from before Pharaoh, and Joseph situated his father and his brothers and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had commanded. Then Joseph provided his father, his brothers, and all his father's household with bread, according to the number in their families. So we're going to read the commentary here. Commentary is coming from the Tony Evans Bible Commentary. Commentary verses 1 through 12 in Genesis 47. Give me 1 second. Let me browse. Browse. Chunks. Okay. I just want to keep up with chat. 1 through 12, right? Yes. 1 through 12. Okay. Verse 1 through 6. Joseph's family met Pharaoh. They had asked to settle in the land of Goshen, and Pharaoh agreed. God had sent Joseph ahead to save his family and prepare a place for them. Here, God was fulfilling his promise and settling Jacob's family in the land. Jacob's brief audience with Pharaoh hints at the fulfillment of another aspect of God's covenant with Abraham. The promise had 3 parts: multiplying Abraham's offspring, 2, giving them the promised land, and 3, blessing all the families of the earth through them. See Genesis 12, verse 1 through 3. Jacob's family had already settled in the land. They had multiplied phenomenally. Here Jacob blessed Pharaoh as a first fruits fulfillment of God's intention to bless all the nations of the world through this line. The direction of this blessing is staggering, and it displays Jacob's deep faith. Pharaoh sat on his throne, thinking that he was ruling over the world. He should have been the one bestowing blessings, but Jacob knew better. Jacob saw that in God's economy he had the greater wealth. In God's kingdom he had the true position of privilege. Alright, let's continue reading scripture. Okay, verse 13 of Genesis 47. Joseph deals with famine. Now there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very severe, so that the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan languished because of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, for the grain which they bought, and Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. So when the money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, Give us bread, for why should we die in your presence? For the money has failed. Then Joseph said, Give your livestock, and I'll give you bread for your livestock, if the money is gone. So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for the horses, the flocks, the cattle of the herds, and for the donkeys. Thus he fed them with bread in exchange for all their livestock that year. When that year had ended, they came to him the next year and said to him, "We will not hide from my lord that our money is gone. My lord also has our herds of livestock. There is nothing left in the sight of my lord but our bodies and our lands. Why should we die before your eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants of Pharaoh. Give us seed, that we may live and not die, that the land may not be desolate." Then Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. For every man of the Egyptians sold his field, because the famine was severe upon them. So the land became Pharaoh's. And as for the people, he moved them into the cities, from one end of the borders of Egypt to the other end. Only the land of the priests he did not buy. For the priests had rations allotted to them by Pharaoh, and they ate their nations which Pharaoh gave them. Therefore they did not sell their lands. Then Joseph said to the people, "Indeed, I have bought you and your land this day for Pharaoh. Look, here is seed for you, and you shall sow the land. And it shall come to pass in the harvest that you shall give 1/5 to Pharaoh, 4/5 shall be your own, as seed for the field and for your food, for those of your households, and as food for your little ones." So they said, "You have saved our lives, but let us find favor in the sight of my lord, and we will be Pharaoh's servants." And Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt to this day, that Pharaoh should have 1/5, except for the land of the priests only, which did not become Pharaoh's. So we're going to read commentary here. Verse 13 through 26. And we read, "As the famine dragged on, the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan were exhausted under Joseph's authority. The people were saved from starvation, and Pharaoh's treasury was filled to the brim with silver. Eventually, the people of the region ran out of money, so Joseph began to barter for their livestock. In short order, all of the horses, the flocks of sheep, the herds of cattle, and the donkeys in the entire region belonged to Joseph. The famine dragged on for years more, so the people began to offer their very land in exchange for food. In the end, because of Joseph's wisdom, he acquired all the land in Egypt for Pharaoh, asking in return only that the people provide a tax of 1/5 of their produce, a practice that held for hundreds of years." And verse 27, Genesis 47. Joseph's vow to Jacob. So Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions there, and grew and multiplied exceedingly. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So the length of Jacob's life was 147 years. When the time drew near that Israel must die, he called his son Joseph and said to him, "Now if I have found favor in your sight, please put your hand under my thigh and deal kindly and truly with me. Please do not bury me in Egypt, but let me lie with my fathers. You shall carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their burial place." And he said, "I will do as you have said." Then he said, "Swear to me." And he swore to him. So Israel bowed himself on the head of the bed. So let's read commentary here to close off Genesis 47. So as Jacob neared death, he charged Joseph to not bury him in Egypt. He remembered the promises of God and wanted his bones to rest where his ancestors did, in the promised land. Joseph, swearing with a solemn oath, agreed to Jacob's request. And that concludes Genesis 47. Stay tuned for Genesis 48.